Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are we?
Michael, seems like you and I are in some great lighting today, which means we're not in our home. It looks like you have some pink lighting back there behind you.
I do. I'll show you the shot of what happens when I don't have my trusty light on. I'm in a.
There's Michael with the big shadow. Yes. And
well, guess what kind of hotel I'm in, everybody?
you're in an A Element or A Loft?
Think trendier.
Moxie.
I'm in a Moxie.
You're in a Moxie in North Carolina, Virginia, right?
In Virginia. Well, so yeah, I am in the land of pink. So
yeah, well, awesome. And I am in Austin, Texas, getting ready to go this morning to the Society for Pediatric Anesthesiology conference. A whole bunch of doctors.
All right.
So it's going to be a fun day and weekend here. But, Michael, I realized it was like 2 months since we have done this. And it's
right.
Our people, but we are back on track. We are getting this done. Lots of changes in our lives and all have happened. Michael, why don't you let our listeners know why are we passionate about doing Experience Friday Live?
Through no particular organization in mind. When your people are not happy, they're not going to deliver the customer experience that you want. And when your people in whatever level of the company are not aligned, and when they are not trusting, they waste a ton of time on stupid stuff. And their minds, for good intentions, go crazy places, and it affects the deliverables, which affects whether or not you have revenue, which affects whether or not anyone gets to keep a job. So, what are they going to do? That's why I love it.
Michael's on fire today. He is. He's not cutting any corners or being shy, and I love it, Michael. Just a couple announcements, and then we will bring on our guest, Mitch Watkins. If you follow podcast and you've been following our podcast, Combustion Chronicles, this week, Scott Roth, Beyond the CCO, Unlocking Your Workforce Potential, could not even have been more aligned to our guests today and what we are talking about today. So go out, download the Combustion Chronicles, and listen to the season 8 episodes as well. 2 weeks from today, we will have Pete Schrum, CEO of Latitude, how to crack the code on connection, retention, and productivity. Again, right in line with what we're talking about here, Michael. So, I think without any further ado, I want to read this amazing bio of our guest today. Our guest, Mitch Watkins, is a husband of 17 years, a father of 4, 3 girls, 1 boy, and the CXO at Greenix. His background has primarily been in sales leadership, but has expanded to CX over the last 5 years. Mitch's primary goal when he shows up to work every day is to help those around him be happier, healthier, and more productive people for having worked for him. So without further ado, we're going to get Mitch on stage here. Mitch, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys, we made it happen.
We've made it happen. We were supposed to have done this in January. It only took 2 months. But Mitch, first off, God bless you. 4 children, but in particularly 3 girls. I have 1. Michael has a girl. I can't even imagine 3 of them. So blessings to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Mitch, we always start out, same question every episode, and it's pretty simple, brother. What do you do what you do, or why do you do what you do, and what keeps you motivated as you do it?
Yeah, I love that question. And, I get that question asked a lot, particularly I do a culture intro to all our new hires. And I do a little Q&A session, and I typically get asked something along those lines. I show up to work every day, like I said in my bio, and my number one goal is I want everybody I work with to be a happier, healthier, more productive person for having worked with me. I want them better prepared for whatever their life's goals and ambitions are, to be a better whatever that may be. In like my frontline agents, a lot of them, this is a stepping stone job for them. This isn't the end goal. Some of them want to be doctors, dentists, lawyers, executives, whatever it may be. And my goal is to help them be better versions of that in the future for having worked with me, right? The day-to-day, running an organization, and pest control is fairly seasonal, as you can imagine. So my team will scale up from about 120 to 250 people in 6 months, and so there's a lot of logistics and training and development that goes into that. Greenix is a fast-growing company. When I started at Greenix, we were doing about 14 million in revenue annually. We're at 105 now, and that's only in 5 years. So tremendous growth. Growth comes with a lot of challenges, and one of the main ones is developing leadership and developing people. And if you're not proactive with that, then you have to hire outside the organization, which sometimes you do, but I'd much prefer to promote internally, because I love seeing other people be successful and develop and grow and achieve their goals. And that's, if I don't feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives around me, I get very burned out at work. But if I feel like I'm making a positive impact, man, could do this forever. I don't know if that answers your question, Shawn, but
yeah, no, that answers, and we love it. And we titled this around servant leadership, right? And so,
yeah,
just to be clear, when we're talking about servant leadership, I wanted to put out for our audience today, that servant leadership is a leadership philosophy in which the goal of the leader is to serve. Exactly what you're talking about. And I recently read a book called Friction, and to go along with that, Mitch, it says, it seems that living a life in service of others is a great way of helping ourselves, right? And I just heard you say it. I know it's a model that Michael lives by as well. And I'm going to ask you this question, and then Michael take over and start digging in with you some. But why is servant leadership so important to you? And then how do you live it out day to day in your role as a CXO?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why is it so important to me? Well, a couple reasons. I think number one, it's the right way to lead. And number two, I think it's the leadership philosophy that yields the best results as well, right? So it's not just an altruistic reason, but that's certainly part of it. But I also believe I'm a better business leader, and I get better results because I choose to take more of a servant leadership approach. The catch with it is you have to be authentic. Otherwise, it's just extremely manipulative, which is what we're going for, in this new hire training, I talk about the leadership structure as an upside down triangle or pyramid, right? With me at the very bottom. And my job is to support my VPs and directors as they support their managers, as they support their supervisors, as they support the frontline agents. And the frontline agents, the people who interact with our customers, they're the most important part. They're the top of the pyramid, even though the widest part. How I practice that, I think in a lot of ways, it's a lens in which I evaluate decision making. For instance, I was talking with some recently promoted leadership last night, flew some in from out of state, and I was talking about how if you have an employee that is constantly late, if you love them, truly care about them, you will have a hard conversation with them and talk to them and have a disciplinary conversation about being on time. And if you don't, you're doing them a disservice, right? Because for the rest of their life, you need to be on time to things. That's a life skill. And if you just let that slide, you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to the company, but more importantly, you're doing a disservice to that person that's on your team. And so I think it's a lens in which I make decisions. Some of the more fun things, like I'll, like bring in lunch for people, which, those are so simple, but it just makes such a big difference to people. I'll run and, I'll need water and I'll go check, hey, does anybody need their water filled up? And sometimes I'm like tray full of water, bringing people. One of the other like fun, goofy things, I haven't done this one for a minute, but we'll do like an incentive where like top occupancy or top CSAT score person, like you get a paid hour off the phones, and I'm working that part of your shift for you, and that does a lot of things. It forces me to engage with our customers at a frontline level, which is so important. Some of the best, most actionable ideas I get are from taking that time and stepping into a frontline role. And it gives that person the chance to feel validated that like their boss's boss is like working for them, And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just little things. More than anything, I think it's a philosophy, and I think the most important thing is truly caring about the people and truly having a desire in your heart to serve them. And dude, people are great BS detectors. Like they'll know it if you're faking it, So it has to be real. It has to be authentic. But I think people feel more valued. I think they feel taken care of. I think they feel that you have their best interest, that you're an advocate for them. And man, they work harder and they do a better job because of it, So it's not just altruistic. It yields better business results, which matters. Like Michael said, I love that he called that out. Because sometimes, especially in the experiential world, it almost gets a little too fluffy to the sense that it's like, no, we still need to kick out an EBITDA margin. And if we don't, like, we don't get to create great employee and customer experiences because now we're out of business, right? Like, everybody, we still need to make money, but there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
So let's go there a second, because we haven't been together over a beer yet for you to go, oh, he just likes to stir things up a little bit. But as a word person, I love the concept of servant leadership. I wonder though, is it just a bullshit throwaway word at this point? Yeah. So is the phrase so overused and so dissolved into other stuff that when we say servant leadership, that, what does that even mean? Right? So how would you respond to that? How would you respond to a naysayer who was like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing servant leadership? Like it's just an overused word. Quit talking about it and just be a better leader.
Yeah.
Servant or not.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I feel the same way about it, honestly. Mm-hmm. That and the word culture, I hate it.
Exactly. Because we hate innovation as a buzzword. And my big one is I am so over the word empathy. I am sick of the word empathy.
Yeah. But I think it's a damn good question, right? Because I think a lot of people throw it around as a buzzword. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if you're not authentic, it just becomes super manipulative. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, like the servant leadership model is very much like a graduate level approach, right? Like it has to be done with authenticity. It has to, right? Otherwise you are just being manipulative. And I think a lot of people like throw around that term and say, I'm a servant leader, and they're just being manipulative, right? Like at the end of the day, like if you don't have the employee's best interest at heart, and the like good business decisions and wisdom, right? Like there's that balance. I talk about how our retention team could save every customer if we just gave away a Tesla, We'd have 100% customer retention, but we'd go out of business, right? So that's not good customer experience, and that's not good wisdom, right? And I think the same like cheeky analogy applies to servant leadership, right? Like, yeah, at the end of the day, the better human you are, the better leader you're going to be, right?
And what about,
a simple level?
To your point of being authentic, what about, we're all different, right? We're different humans. You strike me as a super nice person. I don't know that you are, but you come across as super nice. So I'm just going to go with that. I'm assuming that you're a nice person. And I'm saying that because Shawn will tell you very few people accuse me of being a nice person. But I am a thoughtful person.
Absolutely.
And I would consider myself often driven by servant leadership and putting others first. But I'm not nice.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have, our different personality types.
Absolutely.
And the baggage we bring with us and the experiences we've had and the mentors who guided us and the values that are driving our next conversation or our next action. And I just believe that we can all still show up differently as a servant leader or as a leader who's focusing on others authentically, right? So how have you seen, beyond how it shows up in you, how have you seen evidence of servant leadership in other folks that may not be like you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think you're 100% right. First of all, I wouldn't describe myself as nice. I would describe myself as kind.
Oh, there you go. There's a difference. You're right.
Our talent acquisition team wouldn't describe me as nice or kind right now.
All right.
In the thick of our ramp up.
That's fair.
But God bless them, and we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I just freaking love. I freaking love. Like, I recently hired a new VP of customer experience, and the dude is 10x the operator as I am. Completely different leadership style. Way more organized, way more thoughtful, way more like process, like everything that I'm not, right? Which is why I hired him. But the dude also exemplifies servant leadership, right? He's ex-military. He has that protective sheepdog approach where he is not afraid to be very blunt and direct with people. And I wouldn't, maybe some people would say he's intimidating. But man, the dude is kind because the truth is always kind, and you're always going to get the truth from him, right? But he may not be the most bubbly,
the delivery guy. May not be. I mean, that you're talking about me right now.
Yeah, the delivery's great, but it's just it's very different for me, which is fine. But the dude is like, he's fantastic, and it comes, I hate saying it, but it really does come back just to being genuine, like to genuinely care about that person, and care about them authentically enough to have uncomfortable conversations with them and to push them, right?
Yeah.
Like when you avoid a hard conversation, it's because you're being selfish.
Correct. And scared,
right?
Yep.
Or choosing to lean into the scare, choosing comfort over courage, right?
Yeah.
And I think putting the other person's needs before your personal comfort is servant leadership.
I love it. And listen, we've gotten some great comments and actually a question. We got this comment from Tresna. The better human you are, the better leader you are, Mitch. Right? Like you said it. I think people are grabbing that. And it's kind of funny, Mitch, and I'll give you the next question here that came through our community online. This year, for those of you that haven't kept up with what's going on in my world, 2022 was my year to battle cancer. 2023 is the year to do something different. And at the beginning of the year, I made a conscious decision, and Mofi is still here. We're thriving. Michael is doing amazing things.
Yep.
But I kind of got to a little bit of a point as a servant leader of I was tired of being hired as a consulting company to come in and give advice and bring best practices in, and then they throw it away.
They don't listen.
Yeah.
They're like, you're paying me money, and now you're not gonna fucking listen to me. What's the deal? And I had an amazing opportunity come before me, and so I accepted a CEO position for a small company that we're in growth mode, about where you started with Greenix, Mitch, and it's called Offer Health. And we are in the middle of radical transformation right now. Probably almost to the point where you can break an organization, but it's what needs to be done. And yeah, I mean, listen, I think Michael's nice. He doesn't think he's nice. But Michael's kind. Michael's very thoughtful. I think you're that same type of person. But we have, like you said, we can give Teslas away, then we won't have a business, right? And so we're in that stage. But in the same stage, we are doing a massive cultural transformation in the organization. And I hired an amazing friend of ours, actually, and her title, Mitch, is Chief of Human Experiences. So not Chief HR, but Chief of Human Experiences, and owning this associate experience and all of that. And she actually asked a question to you, and her name's Katie, and what advice would you give a leader who wants to show up, be seen as a leader who truly cares, but has some historical behaviors to overcome?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And just for the record, while you're thinking about it for a second, I think that happens to more people than would admit, right? That leaders being self-aware. I mean, I would absolutely put myself on that list of, really looking forward to a do-over or, wanting to grow. And it's hard, especially when you're in the same organization trying to make changes, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I can give general advice without knowing like the specifics. Just thinking through like my career and others that I've worked with, if you have like an internal branding issue, I think, Michael, you're 100% right. I like you. Like step one is being self-aware, right? Which is so hard, right? Like we're so good at lying to ourselves. And
we have to sometimes. We feel like we have to.
It's totally a defensive and coping mechanism, and we've all gone through stuff, so I think step one's learning to be self-aware, and step two is even harder than step one, which is accepting our weaknesses for who we are, right? And then being authentic and vulnerable. Like I have a leader in my organization who is so driven to deliver the exact results that he's being asked for, that if he doesn't feel like he can deliver it on it perfectly, the answer he typically gives is, I can't do it, right? Which has led to some like internal branding issues, right? And when I've worked with them, it's like, okay, look, we're not trying to build a piano, we're building a fence. It needs to be upright, but it doesn't need to play a tune. So do your best, deliver your best, and give the context, give the color, and say, hey, this is the best of what we have. Here's where it's falling short. Here's the context around it. If this isn't what you're looking for, let me know, and we can iterate on this. And so I think it's being aware of where you're at and what you need to change. And that's so difficult. Like that's a lifelong muscle you need to strengthen. Self-awareness and then like acceptance. And trust me, man, I've been paying all the money and seeing all the therapists just to even like be aware that that's a solution. Not that I'm good at it. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's asking for help as well.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
It's like that vulnerability
Absolutely.
of saying, I'm not doing right here. But I think to Katie's point, I think as a leader, it is doubly hard to have to do all that work to go back and rebuild trust with your team and to show that consistency over time, to not let old habits pop in while still maintaining a leadership, right? Because like it's really easy to cede too much leadership power, maybe power is the wrong word, but responsibility to the team, people on your team that are the most vocal. But you got to retain that responsibility of leadership without making it, making everyone's lives miserable. That's it's a great question, Katie.
Yeah, I love that.
Listen,
I think.
Let me say this. We're going to do a part 2 of this because we are just touching it. So we're going to get you on again in the next month or so because we have so many questions. And listen,
and I love this. This is the question that just popped up about cross culture in terms of the DEI perspective on all of this. I think would be really helpful.
Oh yeah, and going back to some of what you said, Mitch, and we'll close with that question, Michael, for sure, for this episode. And I know that I have, I don't call them employees. I have this hang up around words, so they're associates. I know I have associates in the new company sitting on this call. And I hope that the way I'm showing up right now on this call is how I'm showing up in the office. And if not, call me out on it. Like that's the thing, that self-awareness of it. And the one thing I learned from my mentor, Mitch, in my life is make sure to hire people around you that are smarter than you are.
Absolutely.
So listen, Michael's a brilliant genius. Why do I keep Michael with me? And why do I want Michael by my side in my world till we quit working? Because he's a freaking genius and he sees things. And guess what? He also knows my areas of weakness. And when he sees that, he can say to me, hey, his favorite saying, and I love this, he says, I just want to put it on record. And he will say something to me, and then, then he leaves it alone.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do, but I want to put it on record.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Right?
God bless him.
Yeah.
Well, and it's often you are making a mistake. This is a problem. It's not a gentle.
Yeah. He's not real gentle. He's not real kind with me at all when he's telling me that, Mitch. Kindness has left the door when that happens. I do want to get this last question because I think this one was powerful. How do we apply servant leadership when you have a cross-cultural team? What may be considered good for one culture point of view might not be accepted in other cultures. And this could probably be a whole show.
I was going to say that is a whole show.
Give us a quick, Michael, give your 30-second answer to it. Mitch, give your 30-second answer. And we'll bring my
30-second answer was, I think in all DEI situations, cross-cultural situations, we're not listening enough. So the first step of the leader would be to learn the cultures of the value systems that are present. And that's the starting place. Once you do, then you can design some solutions that are not just sensitive to different cultures, but celebrate those cultural differences and be able to leverage them for more success. But it's got to start with listening. You don't know what you don't know, and the only way to figure that out is to get in there and start listening.
Yeah, I love that. I would agree. I'm probably not the most expert in this. I'm in Utah, and Utah is not known for its diversity. And so, but I think you're 100% right, Michael. I think it starts with listening and being aware that you might not be the expert. And, I think that the answer both to this question and the last one is that vulnerability piece. Like maybe you screwed up with your team and maybe you've been a bad leader. Pull them in and say, look, I screwed up and I'm really sorry, and repent to them. With, if maybe you have a BPO and it's a completely different culture from what you're used to, lean into the fact that you don't know, right? And be like, hey, can you help me understand how you guys think and act and what you value so I can be a better leader for you guys? And I think people appreciate, like, being genuine and vulnerable just goes so far, right? Like, that people give you so much grace if you can do that. And it has to be real. It can't, like, you could do that very manipulatively, but if you're being genuine and authentic because you care about doing a good job and serving those people, whether wherever they may be from, and you're authentic about it, like, hey, I don't know, help me do a better job, right? And you create that safe space for them to give you that kind feedback that may be uncomfortable to take, and you can show them and build that trust by, it's like, hey, you can tell me stuff that might be hard for me to hear, and I'm grateful for it, right? I think that's a really, really good place to start.
Love it. What a great way to end the show. And by the way, Michael, one of our dear friends says, Michael is a genius, but even when he's direct, he is kind.
That's right.
I make eye contact and everything. But I do think what I think about it before I say it, but I often want the words back.
Yeah. So, hey, Mitch, thank you so much for this. And we're going to get you back on here, brother. If you'll hang out, we're going to close up the show, and we will talk to you right after we close up, man.
My pleasure. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Shawn.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, Michael, I feel like we just opened up a whole bunch of stuff there. So I know you are going to have an amazing weekend. I know you're with your family and get to see your daughter tonight for the weekend. So enjoy it, my friend.
I will. And I've got medicine balls right here.
Medicine balls and everything.
I've
You'll
got
be nice and
lift.
You're going to be nice and fit after this weekend, Michael.
Well, it's just the best place to do a live show is from the workout room of the Moxie in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm telling you, balancing my computer on a rack.
Yes. Well, thank you to everyone. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, and have an amazing, amazing weekend.